Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Denanu, and I'm the man with black privilege. And with this video here, we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel, the new movie that just dropped by Marvel Studios and part of the MCU. And I'm just going to give my thoughts on it. I'm going to try not to delve into spoiler stuff because I know the movie just came out yesterday. And I'm just going to give my thoughts and opinions on a few different things here. Like I said, we're not gonna get into anything like story related or nothing like that. I may make another video for that, but that just depends if you guys like to like to hear my thoughts and opinions on it. But so far the movie was pretty decent. I don't follow Brie Larson or any of the politics and stuff and all the bad press that this movie, not really the movie generated, but just everything outside of the movie. Some Twitter comments and stuff like that were mentioned, and I guess a lot of people didn't like what she said or something, but I know this movie's getting a lot of hate because of stuff that's not even in the movie. But as far as the movie goes, it's like I said, it's pretty decent. I went into this just expecting an origin movie. I know coming out of Infinity War, we can't expect everything to be on that, that kind of level, and it definitely wasn't. It feels more like it's not a complete setup movie. I wouldn't say that. It definitely doesn't have that pre-Avengers type feel to it. A lot of the, maybe not so much Iron Man 1 and Captain America, but Thor, and I think Thor 1 and 2 kind of felt like a setup, to leading up to the Avengers. This doesn't have that kind of feel. They have a lot of winks, nods, and throwbacks, things you would recognize if you saw, the other movies, but nothing really like, oh look, this is what's gonna be there, I think the one major nod that they give is Fury actually gets the name Avenger from Captain Marvel's plane. That was her call sign. I don't think it was that way in the comic books, because I think the Avengers were out way before Captain Marvel, so and that's definitely not something that they pulled from the source material, but it fits in the MCU and the universe and the stories that they're trying to tell. So but the movie was pretty much just an origin movie. I mean, it's exactly what that was. It's no saving, well, I guess you can say it's saving the world when it comes to a few things at the end, but this movie doesn't feel like, oh, Captain Marvel's gonna save the world. It wasn't about all of that. It was pretty much a journey to discovery. She didn't know who she was, and then throughout the course of the movie, she's figuring out who she is. She don't want to believe it at first, but then she does, and then at the end reconciles with that, and then her powers kick into that, that binary phase, and she's able to beat the enemies of the movie. What I will say is this: it does have a kind of how would I explain it? And maybe this is just me noticing it because I'm a man, but it does have a female focus. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. It is what it is. It's what they wanted to be, and I don't mind it. It's not that big a deal to me. It's just noticeable. When I was watching, I was like, okay, that's a female character, that's a female character, that's a female character. It's they had a lot of women in the movie, and like I said, that's not bad, but it does have that kind of vibe. It's not as ham-fisted as, let's say, Wonder Woman, where it's just like, well, I guess in Wonder Woman you kind of have to have that because you're on they were on Themyscira with a island of women. I mean, strong-willed women. That's kind of what the whole point was with that. But with this here, a lot of the characters in it that they've changed or they've set up to be women. I guess I could spoil this because this ain't really a big part of the story, but they changed Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was a man in the comic books. I'm not going to dive into Captain Marvel's origin because she has a incredibly long-winded, confusing, comic book stupid type origin when it comes to how she got her powers. So, but the main thing is she got them from this other person called Mar-Vell, who was a Kree spy on Earth. He got caught up into some stuff. This machine blew up that somehow infused Carol Danvers with Kree DNA and stuff like that, and that's how she got her powers. They were pretty much copied from this other man character, Mar-Vell, and she was very cool with him. She, respected him, kind of sort of had feelings for him, things like that. But in the movie, I guess they don't want to, well, and this is what I mean earlier when I said you can't help but notice it. I guess by them trying to make this movie like a female type movie, they changed Mar-Vell's, character to a woman. They just, basically gave his name to somebody else because she wasn't the same character at all. And they basically just said, oh, she was the scientist working on this machine. I can't dive into what they were doing with said machine without spoiling things, but she was working on this machine, an explosion happened, and that gave Captain Marvel her powers. And going forward, that's kind of, and then it jumps into the story and why she's working with the Kree and that kind of sort of thing. So they just kind of completely changed her origin to kind of distance themselves from the comic books, because like I said, her comic book origin is comic book stupid. It's as comic book as you can get, besides just saying, oh look, this machine blew up and now I have these superpowers and I'm gonna be a hero. It gets really, really dumb. It gets really, really dumb. At least in the movie, she has a reason for her resolve, her wanting to be a hero. There's a reason for it, as far as why she feels she has to do that. And I guess the main theme of the movie is probably knowing yourself and probably resolve. That's a big thing. They had a big thing at the end. Once she reconciles who she is, they show her like a scene where she's, all the scenes of her standing up in the trailer and stuff. That's when they play all of that, and it's just like her resolve to just keep fighting, essentially. And it made for an okay movie. It had one twist in there that I guess I can spoil it, because I mean it doesn't really play a big part in the story, but one thing that incredibly surprised me, if you know the Skrulls from the comic books, right? They're always, well, I'm not gonna say not always, but 90% of the time they're bad guys. Whereas in this movie, at least the ones that they had in the movie, they aren't bad guys. They're good guys fighting against the Kree. Or, well, I can't even say, well, I guess they're fighting against the Kree, but it's more like the Kree are trying to wipe them out and they're trying to stop the Kree from doing that. So I wouldn't call them bad, but they're not the bad guys. In the trailers they make it looks like the one guy on the beach is going to be hunting down Captain Marvel and stuff, which he is doing in the movie. But they're not the bad guys of the movie. You find that out leading into the final act of the movie. And that kind of surprised me, because I'm like, okay, like my comic book side is like, this Kree guy gonna turn, this Skrull guy gonna turn on her at the end. Like I know, like once he get what he got, once he get what he want, he's gonna be a bad guy. Like they just fronting. But like for the rest of the movie, no, the Skrulls were pretty much good, and it ended on a good guy note, and she left with him. I was like, are you serious? The Skrulls have never been like super good, never. Like they're just as dirty as the Kree are. Like don't get me wrong, the Kree are nice, and they're definitely not good either. They're like, if you ever read the comic books or watch like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, the Kree are just as shitty and just as dirty as the Skrulls are when it comes to that war that they've been fighting for like the whole span of both of their cultures. One thing I will mention is the Skrull guy was talking in the movie about something. What was he saying? He was basically telling Captain Marvel about ever since our home world got destroyed, or not destroyed, ever since we left our home world, the Kree have been trying to kill us or whatever, right? And they've been pretty much refugees living out in space, millions and billions of them. And I was just like, oh, please have a throwaway line about, their home planet getting consumed. That's all you have to say. Just throw in a line and be like, yeah, ever since our home planet was consumed, we've been living out in space. I was hoping they was going to drop that, but they didn't, because for those of you who don't know, Galactus in the comic books ate the Skrull homeworld. And that was like a really big thing for them. So I'm kind of hoping the Skrulls are going to become bad guys. I mean, I guess not all of them can be bad. So maybe I'm hoping that the ones that she's helping in this movie are the good ones. But I mean, I would still want to see bad Skrulls, because I mean, I want to see Secret Invasion. I want to see, damn sure I want to see Super Skrull. But it's one of those things where I'm hoping in future movies they kind of sort of dive into the Skrulls a little bit more, because they can't be good. You know what I'm saying? They cannot be good. If you've ever read anything or any comic book with a Skrull in it, usually they're the bad guys 95% of the time. It's just who they are, what they are. But as far as the rest of the movie, it was, pretty decent. Samuel Jackson, they made him look damn good in the movie. You can still tell that he's not young. Like when he has scenes where he's fighting or running or that kind of sort of thing, he still moves like an old man. But if you kind of turn your mind off to it, you don't really notice that all that much. A lot of the funniest scenes in the movie are involving the cat, who in this they somehow call Goose. And I guess it's the cat is, I guess, Mar-Vell's cat, the scientist lady Mar-Vell. It's her cat, and I guess they adopt him. And I think the biggest thing with that is, I mean, I guess I can spoil this too, it's not that big a deal, but they make a scene of throughout the movie, Nick Fury's like petting this cat all the time, right? And everybody likes the cat. Everybody likes the cat in the movie. Even in my theater, in the audience, everybody was liking the cat. The cat was like heavily involved in the second half of this movie. And they had a scene at the end where the cat just basically, who was nice to the main group of people for the whole movie, but then when it got to Samuel Jackson in this one scene at the end, it scratched him in the eye, and that's how his eye got messed up. So I guess that's pretty cool, because it all goes back to it makes me want to watch Winter Soldier again, and he'd be like, the last time I trusted something, I lost an eye. And it's like, really, the cat? And I think they had a scene with Coulson at the end where he was like, did you really, did the Skrulls really gouge your eye out when you wouldn't give him information? And Fury was like, I can no longer confirm or deny what happened, whatever, right? I guess trying a lot of people saying that, oh, like it wasn't the cat that did it, it was something else. It was something more badass, but like, no, it was just the big ass alien cat. And that's something I was worried about too, is because in the comic books, Carol Danvers' cat is basically like an alien creature, right? And I was kind of worried that in the movie that it was going to be just like a normal cat that she had. I was kind of hoping it was going to have the same name, because I think in the comic books her cat's name is Chewie, like Chewbacca from Star Wars. So I don't know why in the movie they named it Goose, even because Disney has the Star Wars rights. So I don't know why they, but not sure what went on there. Maybe Goose was just the cat's name, and that was the only way they can get it to act in certain scenes if they called his name, Maybe it was just as simple as that. But I will say this, the movie was incredibly nostalgic. It was a fun watch. I was entertained. Is it Infinity War? No. Is it the top Marvel movie? Hell no. Do I think Captain Marvel is the strongest Avenger or whatnot? Maybe, but I'm still, Thor's definitely up there in my opinion. She didn't do nothing that he couldn't do in her movie, so I don't think she's gonna come back in Endgame like people were saying online. I'm like, oh, she's gonna come back and beat Thanos. Thanos is gonna whoop her ass if he still has that gauntlet. Maybe even without the gauntlet, he can whoop that ass, because honestly, in the movie, she didn't do a whole lot. She doesn't, all she does is basically energy protection in the movie. She can fly around. She was kind of shoot energy bolts from her hands and feet, and she can fly through a spaceship. She was incredibly durable when she had her powers and stuff around her. They're probably gonna up her, I mean, to pull a DBZ thing, they're gonna probably up her power level in Avengers, kind of like what they do with everybody else, because if they're making the push to try to make her the strongest character, I still think Thor would probably give it to her if they fought, because Thor has, his hammer, the Bifrost, and, all these other abilities that she just doesn't have. all she has is just basically her energy projection and durability, I guess. And I guess she has super strength. I guess you could throw that in there too, but she's definitely not on that Thanos level just yet. Maybe she will be once the movie comes out, because it's going to be like, 10 years later, 15 years later since her first movie. So I'm pretty sure they're going to show her doing a whole lot more badass stuff. But if they just kind of roll her into Endgame and just have her just mollywop Thanos without even trying, I'm going to be heavily disappointed. It's not going to fit the story well. It's not going to fit what they're trying to do. And it would basically take away any kind of threat that Thanos might pose to the Avengers and to the team and everything like that. So I'm hoping they don't do that. It seems like the guys who are directing Endgame and the newer Avengers movies, they're thinking story first and then character. So I would assume it's like, okay, they're gonna be like, okay, what works best for the story? And you can't just have one guy just come in there and just wreck shop on somebody else without even trying. They have to tell the story and have it mean something. And that's the biggest thing that I would assume they want to tell with Endgame, because that's wrapping up Infinity War. Infinity War was their biggest movie. So Endgame kind of has to wrap up that story and then be like, okay, after that happens, take it somewhere different, shift it somewhere else. New Avengers team, new movie, new threat, something. They have to take it and go somewhere else with it. That way they can make the next phase of movies and stuff like that. So they can pretty much do everything they want. And all Captain Marvel was just, it was a setup movie to explain who she is. That's pretty much, as far as that goes. And I think they did a pretty decent job. They told her backstory and flashbacks, mostly things like that. You understand what kind of character she is. They can probably do a whole lot better with her character now that we've got her origin out of the way. Once she pops up in Avengers, she can actually interact with the characters, things like that, and that's going to bring a whole new dynamic to the team when they go and finish out Thanos' storyline and whatever they do with him. But anyways, fellas, that's just been my opinions on the Captain Marvel movie. Like I said, I didn't want to dive into anything spoiler related or story related, really. So that's just my bare bones opinion about it. If I had to give it a rating, I would rate it probably about maybe a 7. Like a 7 out of 10. It's pretty decent. It's decent. It's coherent. It's understandable. You can make sense of what's going on. Is it the greatest entertaining movie out there? Is it the greatest action-heavy movie scene out there? No. It's definitely not on that Infinity War level, because I think, I wouldn't even rate this in... I can even think of other MCU movies that are probably better, at least in my eyes, like Winter Soldier, Civil War is better. This feels kind of like a Phase 2 movie. Or not a Phase... Well, was that Phase 2? Yeah, kind of like a Phase 2 movie. It kind of like an Iron Man 2, a Thor 2, not, it ain't being Captain America 2, because Winter Soldier was like the shit, but it's definitely up there. Like, it's decent, it's entertaining, but it's not like the greatest movie I've seen. It's not the greatest superhero movie I've ever seen. It's incredibly formulaic. You kind of see all the beats coming. It's the one thing that majorly surprised me, like I said, was the Skrull thing. But that's only because I know who the Skrulls are. The average moviegoer, they're probably not going to care or even know. So it's not going to be that big a deal to them. But still an okay movie. Definitely worth watching before Endgame, because if she pops up in Endgame and you haven't seen her movie, you're going to be like, who the hell is this person? What's she all about? That's what her movie kind of gets out of the way. It also kind of sets up, the Avengers 1, because it's where like Fury gets the idea of like, oh, we need a response team, and that's what he says at like the end of the movie, is that there are all these bigger galactic threats out there. We need a team that can deal with that, and that's what gives him the idea to make the Avengers for Avengers 1 and Phase 1 of the MCU. So, but all right, fellas, let me shut up here. I've been rambling on for about 19 minutes and 32 seconds here. But if you guys want to see me do any other kind of movie reviews or TV shows or anything like that, I don't mind watching what you guys recommend. So let me know down in the comments below. My name is Denanu, and I'm the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.